Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News, February 9th, 2020. Hey, listen, everybody. I told you the other day that I would have an update as soon as I was able to gather a little bit more data on the object that I caught on the Secchi cameras. Those are the cameras that are also on the stereo spacecraft. And yeah, man, lo and behold, not only did we get a better view of that object, we also were able to obtain one frame, one photograph that came from the stereo spacecraft also, and it was dated back to the 5th of February. It seems as of lately, once again, getting the data on time like we used to, well, that doesn't happen anymore. And today was another day where I caught them basically deleting information, deleting the data. Over the years, I've trained myself to take screenshots, take video shots, and record everything because I know that they do try to clean this up and they do try to delete things. So earlier this morning, very, very early, I was going through some of the extreme ultraviolet light photographs of the sun. And as I was going through hundreds of frames on the stereo, and I was looking at the 304 angstroms of light, and that would be, when we look at the SDO, you see the big orange sun, and you could see the solar flaring. Well, that's what I was actually looking for, because there have been some pretty decent sized plasma releases on the sun, and I wanted to record those and capture those. And as I was going frame by frame, out of the corner of my eye, I looked at this one frame and I said, holy hell, what the hell is that? And I immediately grabbed a screenshot of it, and I don't know, I got a little sidetracked, and usually what I would do is I would go back and then I would run the video clip of all of those frames and record it. I don't know. I've been working real long hours, between both my websites and all of the political writing and everything going on in this world. I don't know. I could barely keep my eyes open at that point in time. And I took the damn screenshot, and I actually forgot about it. I didn't even examine the photograph. I actually laid down on my office floor and fell asleep for like 2 hours. But it wasn't until very, very, very early this morning that I was chatting with Mark over at Wages World, and I was going over some of the new photo captures from those Secchi images. And then I said to him, oh my God, I have to show you this photograph that I captured on the 5th. I forgot all about it. And lo and behold, he was pretty shocked, and so was I. So without further ado, let's get down to this, because there's all kinds of things going on around the world that are directly associated with what we're about to talk about and what we're about to see right now. So let's get right into this and check it out. I'm going to go ahead and start right off with the photograph that I forgot about on the 5th. And this will be the 304 angstrom extreme ultraviolet light view of the sun from the stereo spacecraft. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Let's check that baby out. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Now, what I did, I'm just pulling up my live chat here so I could see you guys. Yeah, I see Susan Donahoe, Susan Donahoe, Kirkwood Ski Resort in California. Yeah, Susan, I did see that there was a 209-mile-an-hour wind gust at a ski resort in California. 209 miles an hour. Yes, I just posted some information on that on the Planet X News Facebook page. But yes, that was extreme. I've never heard of anything like that before. But we're going to get into some weather here very shortly. So this is the photograph that I was talking about. And this photograph was dated for the 5th of February. And again, on the 5th of February, this photograph wasn't available. So that kind of sucks when they do this with this data. But what I did is I superimposed this this cutout from this was from the SDO website, and this was when Mercury was passing across the sun. And what I did is, when me and Mark were having a conversation about this picture, he said, yeah, you know what, man? Everybody's going to think or say that that object in the lower left-hand corner, they're going to say it's Mercury. That's going to be the excuse. And I said, yeah, I think you're right. But we know that there's absolutely no way that that could be Mercury, because Mercury's 39 million miles away from the sun, and Mercury's like 3,000 miles in diameter or less, something like that. I don't know the exact figure. So Mercury would actually look like a dot, a little dot compared to the size of the sun. So what I did is I did a little overlay, and I actually sized it correctly. Again, some of this new software I have for doing what I do has been a godsend. So what I did is I overlaid a picture of the sunspot. This was on the SDO, one of the SDO cameras, and it showed Mercury in transition across the front face of the sun. So you can see Mercury right there is nothing but a little dot. You can see the sunspot up there also. Now we can zoom into that. And you guys can see the size of the sunspot. You can see the size of Mercury. Now, Mercury was not in transition during this period. Mercury is nowhere near this camera. But I wanted to just show everybody so there's no question about what we're seeing in the lower left-hand corner, the size of Mercury. Mercury would look like a little freaking dot. You can see it right there. So let's go ahead and, oh, it already backed itself up. So you could see right down here in this lower left-hand corner, this is what I saw when I was flipping through those frames. And I think there was about 343 frames that were associated with February 5th. So, I'm able to zip through them pretty quick. But like I said, out of the corner of my eye, I saw this and I said to myself, holy hell, look at that. So we'll go ahead and zoom into this as far as I can go. And we'll get it positioned. What I was looking for that day was solar flaring and filament releases. And lo and behold, this is what I was looking for right here. Because on the Solar Dynamics Observatory website, when I was looking at the 304, which is the orange sun that we're looking at right now, I saw a lot of flaring going on. And whenever I see that, it kind of clues me in that something may be going on in these areas, and I want to take a little bit of a closer look. So lo and behold, when I started taking a closer look, bingo, there we go, right there. Now, I've tried everything under the sun no pun intended, to bring out this image right here a little bit more. I tried to remove the background. I tried different filters. I tried different exposure settings. But the problem is this specific camera is viewing the sun in a level of extreme ultraviolet light, which means everything behind the sun, additional stars, debris, things of that nature, they're not going to show up. That's just the nature of these cameras. These cameras are available in a set of different extreme ultraviolet light settings: 171 angstrom, 94 angstrom, 304, 17 or 193. It allows you to see different things. And you'll see me using that, but on the Solar Dynamics Observatory, when we're looking at coronal holes on the sun, I'll show that purple sun. So this, to me, well, I gotta say, folks, I was pretty blown away by this, because this is not the first time that I have captured this object in that corner of the sun. The first time that I caught this object down there at that point, I believe it was in 2017. I caught it again in 2018, but I was actually able to catch it on video on the SDO as it passed right through the sun's corona and disturbing the sun's corona, and also pulling plasma from the sun. Unfortunately, this time around, I can't get that data. I don't know if it was erased. I don't know what they did with it, but it's not showing up. Now, check this out. As I was chatting with Mark early this morning, and we're discussing all of this, I told him, I said, man, I really screwed up, because I went back and I went to the exact time frames, and that time frame of 21:39:51 is gone. It's gone. Period. I checked every freaking website that has this data and this information. It's gone. Period. However, we do have one exclusive photograph that is, in my eyes and my opinion, completely undeniable. Undeniable. And on the 5th of February, this is pretty close to the position where this object should be in its 28-day orbit, going downward. Now, we're already into the 9th. Within the next couple of days, we're going to start to see this object rising back up through its eccentric and its elliptical orbit. And I would say, let's see, today is the 9th, late in the 9th, tomorrow is the 10th. I would probably say anytime between the 15th, 16th, anywhere between the 15th and the 20th, we will probably see a coronal mass ejection on the right side of the sun as we face it. And during that coronal mass ejection, we will probably eventually get another photo capture of this object, once again proving beyond any doubt that this object is orbiting our sun. It is in a 28-day orbit. At this point in time, folks, it is undeniable. I've accumulated 3 years worth of data proving this. So the questions still arise from people that are far out of the loop with Planet X News. They continue to watch other YouTube channels, follow Nancy Leader and some of these other crackpots that are on YouTube that really don't know what they're talking about. They're just looking for YouTube views, and they just want you to believe a fairy tale. Well, look, folks, I'm not into fairy tales. I'm into real life. And what we're seeing happening on this planet right now is real life. It is no fairy tale. This has nothing to do with Nemesis. This has nothing to do with Nibiru. This has nothing to do with Gil Broussard's research or Marshall Masters' research or the research of WSO or, Nancy Leader, or I don't care who. Mike from around the world, Pastor Paul Begley, all of these hoaxsters, they do not know what they are talking about, nor have any of these people ever produced one piece of observational evidence. Never. You will always see the best observational evidence right damn here. Right here. So, I don't mean to sound so, well, as others say, bullyish or arrogant, but the fact of the matter is, folks, I've invested years and years and years and years of my life tracking this damn thing down. And all of that energy is now paying off. And I want to prove it to the world. I want to prove it to the world that we have a massive intruder in our solar system, and mainstream science and mainstream astronomy, the people that govern this world do not want you to know. They want to blame this climate change on something else, like man. That is complete garbage. Complete garbage. Man is not the cause of this sudden climate change. And this sudden climate change isn't just sudden, but I've been warning about it since 2016. Extremely warning about it. People called me stupid. You're a nut. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, but when all of these things start to happen rapidly, yeah, I hear crickets. I don't hear anything from anybody anymore. And that does piss me off. I had one guy leave a comment today after I wrote an article about what was happening in the Arctic, the North Pole. And he says to me, in the comment, oh, I used to be one of your biggest fans. I've watched Planet X News forever. But since you have been talking about this climate change, I think it's all BS. Well, buddy, it's not BS. Each and every person on this planet is a victim of this climate change. Doesn't matter where you live. You're either getting extreme rain, extreme heat, extreme snow. You're getting extreme earthquakes, extreme volcanoes, extreme flooding. You're getting a taste of that medicine in many, many different ways. So I didn't appreciate his comment, didn't like his comment, and I'm sure he didn't like my reply. But I've always been reporting on climate change, folks. When I write these articles, I write them based on research that I've been doing, either for a long period of time or for that day. I'm looking into things. I'm trying to find as much data as I can, compile, and deliver it to all of you. So this damn thing that I'm tracking out there in space, orbiting our sun, it is the main cause of all of this climate change. I mean, just think about it. If we take that object out of the equation, what? What happens? We don't see the extreme earthquake activity. We don't see the extreme volcanic activity. We don't see this crazy erratic jet stream that is producing insane weather around the world. So, do you see the connection? There is a massive connection. Mainstream science is not going to admit it. Because if they admit it, then they have to admit the existence of this object. Then they have to admit that they've known about it for, who knows, 20 or 30 years. I don't know, maybe less. Who knows? I know that it's been there orbiting the sun since at least 2007. Those are the first and earliest video recordings of that damn thing orbiting the sun. And there is no doubt about it. Now, I think since 2007, I believe its orbit has tightened all the way down to where it is now, because over the last 3 years, it has been consistent. People continuously ask me about this breakaway speed. That breakaway speed is a myth. That is a Nancy Leader, Marshall Masters, Nibiru story, okay? Once a star the size of ours, which is a relatively small star, once it captures something in its gravity, it's it. That's it. It's there for eternity. And as long as that object stays in motion, the sun's gravity will never suck it in. But if this object ever stopped its orbit, the sun would pull it right in and we would have a disaster. Because this object is big enough that if it did collide with the sun, I don't know, we would probably see some kind of freaking wild flash of some kind here on Earth. I don't know what would happen if that occurred. And I have some other goofball YouTuber that goes by the name of Hush Puppy. I don't know why he calls himself Hush Puppy. It's kind of weird name. But people were asking him about my estimate on how big this object is. And I said, it could be anywhere between 2 and 300,000 miles in diameter. That's how big this damn thing is. This guy has never shown any evidence whatsoever other than pixelized pictures of the clouds and the nighttime stars, and claims that that would be absolutely impossible. Well, no, folks, it would not be impossible. I've showed you all of the evidence showing you how big this damn thing is. There is no doubt that this object does have 2 or 3 other bodies that are traveling with it. I think the reason why we don't see them that often is because they are in an orbit that is outside of the view of these cameras, because the majority of these cameras are pretty tight in on the sun. And again, these space cameras have been up there in space for a long time. 2006, 7, 8, 9. I mean, they've been up there for a long, long time. That is why NASA is beating their brains out to put more probes out there to the sun. I think it's later tonight or tonight, they're launching the new solar orbiter. Not the Parker Space Probe, that's already out there. They're launching another one. And this one is going to capture data from the north and south poles of the sun, where they've never received data. They don't know much about the north and the south poles of the sun. But what I can tell you is over the last 5 or 6 years, the north and south pole of the sun have been one big coronal hole. Constant. Damn near constant. Why is that? They don't know. I also think that the reason why they are sending out this new solar orbiter is the same reason why they finally decided to build the Parker Space Probe and send that bastard out there to kiss the sun, as they say. You don't see us getting any cream of the crop data from that space probe, do you? Ha ha ha. That's right. You don't see any live public feeds for that information like we get from Stereo and SDO. They shut the damn SETI website down. We can't get any data from that except for one point that I have where I can get some things. So you could see that they're trying to cover things up, and the mystery is beating their brains out. So what do they have to do? They have to build a probe, and they have to launch the damn thing, and they got to get it to the sun. And I wish the hell at this point in time that I was part of one of those teams, because this drives me crazy. I want to know what the hell that is. I want to know its exact size. I want to know its exact composition. And we already know that it is affecting the Earth's magnetic field, because the Earth's magnetic field works in conjunction with the sun's magnetic field. If the sun's magnetic field weakens, so does ours. More radiation, more cosmic rays, more heavily charged particles, they all blast right into the Earth. What does that cause? Well, bingo, here we go. That causes extreme earthquakes. It causes the extreme volcanic eruptions around the world. It affects our jet streams. It affects everything on this planet. Everything. And we are seeing these changes now. And they are becoming drastic, and they are becoming extreme on a daily basis. There's no doubt about it. There's no more questioning it. So I'm at the point in time right now when people criticize anything that I show, criticize any of my work, I think to myself, these people have not put the time that I have. They have no knowledge of this subject whatsoever. So, when people make snide comments, they're just trying to get under my skin. But deep down inside, I want to know what this damn thing is and what we're going to do about it. I mean, there's not much that we could do about it orbiting our sun. But maybe there are things that we can prepare ourselves for the very near future. We have extreme issues in the North Pole, in the Arctic. We have extreme issues playing out right now in Antarctica, in the South Pole. We have extreme situations occurring in Alaska dealing with the permafrost. When the permafrost is exposed to sunlight, it starts to deteriorate in massive amounts, creating CO2. And our CO2 levels are going sky high. We saw that play out in Siberia several years ago. We saw it play out just this past spring and summer in Alaska. We're seeing it play out again. And here's the thing, folks. We're going to continue to see that get worse and worse and worse and worse each time we go through a season change. So, I don't know if there's any way to fix that. But there are ways that we can prepare for some of these things. I also think that we're going to gradually start to see rises in sea level around the world. And that's going to be very, very critical. Here in the United States, 70% of the United States is completely surrounded by the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. There are a lot of people that live in coastal areas, and we see the damage that occurs during hurricane seasons. And the hurricane seasons are going to get worse. Something that we're going to continue to deal with are these massive tornadoes. I mean, I think we had more destruction last year in 2019 by tornadoes than we did by hurricanes in this country. And if you just look at the extreme weather in other countries around the world, it's pretty bad. Look what's happening in Australia right now. I warned everybody several weeks ago that Australia was going to go from night to day instantaneously. It's going to go from fires to flood. Fires to flood. What's happening now? Flood. Extreme downpours. 2 months of rain in 2 days. Just wrote an article about it. Just posted it on the Planet X News website. So there is a lot happening around our planet, our little blue marble that just sticks out there in space. People think it's a joke. It's not a joke. Sooner or later, these extremes are going to reach out and touch you, probably in the worst way. You know, the other day, for the first time this winter, in southwestern Pennsylvania, where I live, 20 miles south of Pittsburgh, we got 5.5 to 6 inches of snow in a few hours. For the first time this winter. Other than that, we've just had a little dusting here, a little dusting there. The temperatures have been 20 degrees above normal the whole winter. It was like that last year also. But I think that we're going to have a late winter here in my little section of the country. We'll probably have a lot more snowfall in March and even possibly April. Who knows? The jet stream's so erratic that today an airplane leaving a New York airport flying to Heathrow in the UK broke a speed record, making it in 5 hours. It got up in the jet stream and the jet stream just pushed it right across the Atlantic. Same thing happened last year. It broke a record, but today it broke that record. That's insane. A 209 mile an hour wind gust at a ski resort in California. 209 miles an hour. That's faster than a Category 5 hurricane. That is up near the wind speeds of an F5 tornado. Woo! Could you imagine being on a ski lift real high up and a 209 mile an hour wind gust hits you? Yeah. I think you'd be toast. Let's check out some more of this data here. Oh boy. So I was grabbed some more of these Secchi images, and just like I said, I wanted to wait a couple of days from February 4th to February 5th and 6th to see if we can see this gigantic object moving past this stereo head HI1 camera. Sure enough, it moves out into the view of the camera. And then as it moves out, and this is one of the only really good still shots I was able to grab, but as it moves out in front of the camera, within about, I think 2 frames, total static. Can't see nothing. Now, either that was done intentionally to pixelize all of that data, or its magnetic field affected the camera. Me personally, I think it was my first option. I think it was purposely, the static was purposely created with these big gigantic pixels. It looked ridiculous. So I want you guys to check out the video piece that I recorded, and it's very, very short because that's all of the data that's left. We're going to get to these photographs first. Now, I took that image that I just showed you guys, and I converted it into a negative. Now, again, me and Mark discussed this morning, and, he's like, yeah, few people said, oh, why can you see through it? Well, look, folks, you can't see through that. One person mentioned to me in a smart aleck comment, oh, that's a camera artifact. Okay. If it's a camera artifact, prove it to me, because I've seen this object many times before. I've shown you the photographs from 2013 when I captured it. It was captured again, I think, in 2000, I don't know, 17 and 18, if I'm not mistaken. But now, if it was a camera artifact and it wasn't solid, turning it into a negative, well, there you go. Look at your screen. I mean, when I look at it, I could damn near see like some of the surface ripples on it. It's incredible. So, how could it be a camera artifact? Camera artifacts aren't solid. Camera artifacts don't move. Yeah. You guys chew on that picture for a second while I have a sip of my coffee. Because as you can see, I'm fired up. Incredible. Here's a side-by-side image. This is the negative, and this is inverted. So, you know, like I said, folks, if it was a camera artifact, how would you be able to see it as you are seeing it? No trickery, no photoshopping, no nothing. Just basics. Convert it to a negative, convert it to an inversion, an inverted colored photograph. That's it. I don't even have Photoshop. I can't afford it. And then you'd be able, I mean, you know, people Photoshop crap, you could tell instantaneously. That's not my deal. So bingo. Inverted on the right, negative on the left. Now, compare that damn thing to the size of Mercury, which is what you're seeing in the screen with the line going through it, the Birkeland current line. And this object is far off, way far away from Mercury. It's not right up against Mercury. But because it's so big, it does look like it's very close. Here's something else to consider. On this stereo ahead HI1 camera, this camera on the Secchi set of cameras, it is highly zoomed in. And I mean extreme zoom in order to capture the coronal mass ejections that are coming from the left side of the screen. You can see a little bit of it right here in the gray matter here and the white matter right here. Then the other day I had one guy try to argue with me that these Birkeland current lines are not straight. He said they're curved. Okay, Birkeland current lines will look curved if you are looking at them in 3 dimensions. We're looking at a 2-dimension photograph, which would make the line straight. Simple as that. So if anybody wants that info, well, there you go. We're not looking at 3-dimensional photographs. We're looking at 2. They're flat. Incredible. And then we were back to that. I zoomed in on that bad boy. Now, going back to this stereo image, same thing. I simply inverted the photograph, inverted it. That's it. What I was trying to do is this area over here. I was trying to bring out and trying to capture more of what was over here. I was trying to get the other 2/3 of this damn thing. Just couldn't do it. I converted it into black and white because I was trying to do the same thing. I was trying to get into that damn darkness over there, and I just could not do it. My software would just not allow me to do it, and the reason being is because the original photograph is in extreme ultraviolet light, which would turn everything outside of its light source, which would be the sun. It would turn it all black. So we're screwed there. And, well, this was just that clip I was showing you, the size of Mercury and that sunspot compared to what we were looking at. All this is just a collage showing the colored version and the black and white. What is amazing in this photograph, though, is how this huge filament and this huge line of plasma is just literally reaching for that object. That is a very, very spectacular picture in my observation, my opinion. That definitely proves that this object is creating these types of situations on the sun. It is pulling plasma from the sun. Folks, let me tell you something. This line of plasma right there that you see that's being pulled from the sun, that is probably, I would have to estimate, maybe 150,000 miles. That's far. That's big. I mean, it's amazing to see this. Something I'm still trying to figure out is why this object's not creating coronal mass ejections at different positions on the sun as it rotates. We're only seeing the coronal mass ejections near the equator of the sun, to the left, to the right, on the 3 o'clock position, on the 9 o'clock position as it makes its rotation. It's my speculation, complete speculation, that at those 2 points during its 28-day orbit, at the 3 o'clock position, it's at the closest point to the sun's equator, and exiting at the 9 o'clock position, it's at its closest point to the sun. There may be some other dynamics involved that I don't know about. It may have something to do with the sun's magnetic field, but just like the Earth, the sun's magnetic field permeates from its poles, just like the Earth. But some of that magnetic field also permeates out from these large coronal holes that appear. And I've been doing some background work on why these large, massive coronal holes are always turning towards the Earth and opening and expanding Earth facing. If we had views of the backside of the sun like we used to from the Stereo B spacecraft before they took it out of commission, we could see that backside. And when we used to see the backside, there were no coronal hole openings. Only as the sun rotated another 180 degrees, those coronal holes would open massively. And that's still occurring. I think that may be part of the dynamics of this object's orbit? I don't know for sure. It's just me speculating and trying to put my knowledge together, and that's the only thing that I could think of, is that this object does disturb the coronal surface of the sun, and literally causing some type of magnetic field disturbance that pretty much divides that outer surface and exposes those coronal holes. And I don't think we're ever going to see the end of that. I mean, that's something that we're going to live with forever, and we're going to have to deal with. What I've been thinking about for a long time now is getting through this solar minimum over the next decade, and what are we going to be looking at when we go into a solar maximum? Because solar maximums on the sun are something incredible to watch. The constant sunspots, huge plasma loops, huge filament releases, huge coronal mass ejections. If you're a heliospheric scientist, you love that decade because you get a lot of data. And with those 2 new space probes heading out there, within that next decade, they'll be definitely getting some pretty extreme data. But that's then. We have to worry about right now. So I thought the photographs were pretty spectacular. Now I just put this little collage together. I just posted this on the Planet X News Facebook page for people to check out. But it's pretty spectacular, man. I mean, undeniable evidence, no lens flares of, people taking pictures with cell phones and, video cameras and claiming that these pink balls in the sky, is Nibiru. This was today, much earlier today. Magnitude 6.2 popped off in Papua New Guinea. Same photograph. This was just for another Facebook post. Hey, and I posted this. I posted this on Facebook today because people keep complaining to me that they're not seeing my Facebook posts. And I mean, I have, I don't know, 150. I don't know. I might have like somewhere in the vicinity total with my Facebook pages. I don't know, somewhere between 150, 160,000 people that follow me. I can't get to all of them anymore because we know how social media is censoring everything and they play their games. So if you're friends with me on Facebook or you're following my Facebook pages, this is what you have to do to your Facebook settings. You have to set the following or the friends setting in the drop-down menu to get notifications. Click on that and make sure it has a check mark by it. And then you will get my notifications. If you can't stand me, then you go right down here to where it says unfriend and click that. What do you think of that? Interesting. And just before I went on air, this was really unusual. Really unusual. What you're looking at is the top of the Earth, the North Pole. If you look over in the right-hand corner, you'll see the globe. You'll see that red star. You'll see where that red star is. And you will see that that red star is damn near center point at the North Pole. Not the magnetic North Pole, the geographic North Pole. Let me show you something. You see those red lines? Those red lines are the main and major tectonic plates that make up the Earth. You see where that star is? That star is very, very, very close to one of these tectonic plates that crosses directly over the top of the Earth. On the actual map, we can see it right here. And that was a magnitude 5. Nothing. It was very shallow, also about 6 miles. Nothing really to write home about, other than its geographic location. We don't see earthquakes like that in the North Pole. They're very, 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 very rare. Very rare. But today, again, just before I went on the air, that popped up, and I said to myself, holy hell, I haven't seen an earthquake up there in a long, long, long time. So that goes back to what I was saying before. We have very, very strange things occurring on this planet every single day. And, collecting all of these strange things, without social media, I don't know where the hell we would be. Believe it or not, as much as I complain about it, folks, without social media, we would be in the dark. And I mean in the dark. I mean, this would be like living back 40 or 50 years in the past. So even though I do complain about social media and their censoring, without it, we would not have a lot of the information that I gather on a daily basis. But I thought this earthquake was very, very odd, very, very rare. And I don't know. It happened in a spot where it is directly right on or very close to that tectonic plate. And you could actually see that long gorge that is, you can find that right on Google Earth or even possibly Google Maps. But you can definitely check it out for yourself. Very mysterious. Let me just see here. This was the video clip that I put together. Was this the one that I put together? Oh, yeah, right here. No, that's not it. Wrong one. What the hell did I do with it? What did I do with it? This is only 1 minute and 45 seconds, but it will show you the update from that HI-1 camera. And one thing to remember is this camera is behind a porthole lens. Some people asked me, is it possible if that was a lens flare? Well, how could it be a lens flare? It doesn't have any direct light, like you're taking a picture directly of the sun and you see that little pink ball floating around. The object's definitely solid, and it's definitely far away from the camera. But remember, that camera is highly, highly zoomed in. I don't know the exact specifications of the lens on that Secchi camera, but it is highly zoomed in. I just put this together this morning, just as a tool for my live stream, so you guys can quickly see a lot of this. And I'll post this video to the Planet X News Facebook page and the group page, and you guys can reference back to it there. You could check it out there. You could watch it, share it, and pretty amazing. Just over the last week, what's been uncovered. I'm pretty amazed. You could even see some of the what looks like these gases again. Right over there. And again, if that was a see-through image, how would you see gases on this side? You just wouldn't. Something else to consider, because it does look through that porthole lens. Sometimes it tends to look a little distorted. Not much, but ever so slightly. I'm going to point something out to you folks here also on this. Let's jump back here. Look at that outer edge. And the gases that are right there. Now, the outer edge is illuminated towards the sun. The sun is on the left. So, if it was a camera artifact, how the hell would the leading edge be illuminated? It would have to be a solid object. You understand? Good. I'm glad you agree with me. How would it produce these outer gases, which looks like an outer gas cloud of some sort? We saw it in the photographs from February 4th. We saw those outer gases in those photographs, and that's what I'm assuming that they are. Some form of a gas discharge, a reaction from the sun and this object. It's like it's gassing out, or its surface is burning off somewhat as it approaches the sun. So I'll back this up and you guys just check it out. Look at the leading edge. The leading edge is illuminated. The back edge is not. You can clearly see those gases. Now watch it. I mean, the gases actually dissipate and move. Just watch it again. And I created this all in high definition, so there's no pixelization. This got me pretty psyched up, no doubt. Now, folks, I know that there are at least two more of these objects out there floating around that are smaller, way smaller. Possibly, I don't know, possibly the size of the Earth or Venus. I really don't know how big they are because we've only been able to capture them twice in 2 years. And I think the reason being is, again, they are, their orbit is out of the camera's view. They definitely orbit with that main object, whether they be moons, which I do not think they are. I do not think that they are an actual moon. I actually think that those, I don't know, they may be planets. They may be smaller cores. I don't know exactly what they are because we don't have any data on them. We don't have any real solid concrete proof of what they are, what they look like. I mean, in 2 years, we were only able to capture them twice. And that was, let me tell you, that was probably by accident. But, look, you can judge the information for what it is, what you're seeing. I do the best that I can to make sure that what I'm showing you guys is the best quality. So there is no doubt. There is no pixelized pictures like other YouTube channels show you these absolutely horrendous photographs and make these outrageous claims. Like this dude Hush Puppy. He must be out of his freaking mind. I think these are once again some of the most spectacular photographs that I've ever captured. By far. These have to be up there pretty close to the top 10. And this picture here, this photograph here, that's going to haunt me. That right there is going to haunt me because, I went against all of my methods to record and capture everything. Even if I'm not sure about it, at least I can examine it later on. But I got the one screenshot, and I should have went back and I should have recorded the actual video clip. But I was so damn tired. My eyes were closing, and it just slipped my mind. But we still have that spectacular photograph. And at the very bottom, right there, undeniable that plasma is being pulled from the sun and making a direct connection with that object. And we constantly see activity in that lower quadrant. I've been noticing that for many, many years now. And I figured that was one of the reasons, because this object passes by and magnetic fields connect, plasma gets pulled off, and we have that situation right there. We have a direct plasma connection from that object to the sun. No doubt about it. Amazing, I must say. I will post all of these photographs on the Planet X News Facebook page, and I will put them in an article along with the video, this live stream video, and you guys can share that, and and we'll go from there. When I was talking about that permafrost, I'm gonna just touch on a few articles here, and I'll let you guys get on with your Sunday evening. But this was the article that I was investigating and looking into very, 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 very early this morning. Like 4 o'clock this morning, I was deep into this permafrost melting in the North Pole. And it's now creating these massive, massive sinkholes. You think these sinkholes that we see throughout the rest of the world are something else. Yeah, take a look at that. That sinkhole right there, if you look at this leading edge right here where my cursor is, if that would have flattened out or the water rises, well, that's going to flood that sinkhole. Now you're going to have a lake. So this is occurring, and it has been occurring in the Alaska regions and also the extreme regions of Greenland and the extreme regions of Canada, going up near the North Pole. Folks, that is not normal. And that does become a big problem with greenhouse gases. Reason being is that permafrost has been covered by ice and snow for probably thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, who knows? The problem is that once it's exposed, the snow and the ice is gone. That is organic material. When it's exposed to sunlight and it's exposed to the air, it starts to degrade. Once it starts to degrade, plant life creates what? Carbon dioxide. That massive amount of decay and carbon dioxide release at the very top of the world is not good. It is not good at all. One of the last readings of the carbon dioxide CO2 levels was 400 parts per million. That's extreme. Ask any climatologist. And they're looking at these figures, but they're not looking at what the hell is happening in space. What happens in space around us affects the Earth. What are these people? I mean, look, they can't be stupid. These are highly educated people, but they're carrying an agenda. And the agenda is half truth. Half. They're not giving you the full truth. These are more photographs from Alaska where the permafrost has completely disappeared. They're all through this article. This photograph right here is from Siberia. This actually happened a few years ago, and it's continuing to get worse. This big, gigantic sunken gorge, that was all permafrost at one time. It's all gone. And it's created this huge, massive gorge. And that thing is massive. And it's still continuing. Here's that same photograph that was in the thumbnail. And this is happening along the shore areas. You can see the size of this guy right there. Look at the size of him compared to that gorge and that permafrost. Just like I showed you in the live stream the other day of what's transpiring in Antarctica, in the South Pole. Yeah, man, they got greenery. They got thousands of people living down there along the shorelines in small little towns. Here is another photograph right here. This is extreme permafrost erosion. And one thing that is kind of cool is when these scientists are now able to get into these areas and examine this permafrost degradation, they are actually able to look back thousands, if not tens of thousands of years in the past. And they're able to see by the levels of sediment what happened. And from what I've been finding out, they've been, finding large levels of volcanic ash, then sand, then, dirt, volcanic ash, different layers of sediment. Kind of taking you back in time, showing you what happened. And you can see here, that looks like some type of volcanic deposit, that very light gray area there. These are more extreme areas where the permafrost is completely gone. And it becomes so weak and so saturated that it just starts to collapse. Whether it breaks off, whether it forms a gorge, a crack, a crevice, a fissure, or a massive sinkhole. Now, there were big problems like this in northern parts of Alaska last spring and summer. I can guarantee you within the next 90 days that we're going to start to hear about this again. And I think it's going to be more extreme than it was last year, because there's more exposure to the northern hemisphere of the sun, of the Earth from the sun. The magnetic field of the Earth is weakening, and radiation levels are extreme. So I think we're going to see some of these things play out again this upcoming spring and summer. And I think it's going to be 10 times worse than it was last year. But we will see. This is a pretty good article to read. All of these articles are available on the Planet X News website. I'll put it in the live chat. I'll list these articles in the comment section under this video. I'll pin this to the top, and you guys can check it out. But it's a good read. It's good education. It helps us understand what is actually happening. I did a short article on this solar orbiter set to lift off to capture images of the sun's north and south pole. How ironic. And look at the picture. Look at the big plasma release right from the same position as the photograph that I showed you guys just a few minutes ago. Yeah. There's the rocket being loaded on there, blah, blah, blah. Tells you, the whole article goes into detail. Tells you about what the solar orbiter's mission is. I embedded a video here that you guys can watch, give you a little bit more information. And it was supposed to be launched tonight. I don't know if it's already taken off. The weather was fine. That's what they were hoping for. Good clear weather to launch that bad boy out into space. And the last story that I want to review with you guys real quick is just a sad state of affairs in the land down under, in Australia. And it's very, very sad, folks. I mean, I always thought Australia was a beautiful country, and they just have so much diversity there, so much to offer. The land, the people, the history, the animals, the plant life. I mean, everything about Australia is so damn cool, and it's being destroyed. It's a shame. But As I mentioned 2 weeks ago, that all of this was going to be changing very rapidly, and it sure as hell did. And now, as you see the headline, Sydney, Australia, battered by 2 months of rain in 2 days. 2 days. And that's not going to change, folks. Things are going to be really, really awkward for these folks throughout the entire country. There'll be points in time when one side of the country is going to get battered and the other side of the country will be okay. And then they're going to change places. And then there's going to be times this upcoming spring and summer, which will be their fall and winter, where there's very, very high possibilities that major, massive storm systems and cyclones and typhoons can possibly hit Australia from all angles. And, from what I'm seeing, watching the weather very, very carefully, I watch the radars every single day, couple times a day. You could see the flooding here. You could see the flooding in this building. You could see the flooding in the streets. That is a lot of water. A lot of information right there to, catch a quick read. Share the articles if you could. Share them on social media. Let everybody see. Every bit helps out. We could flip over to the GOES satellite. And one thing that I was warning people about just 2 days ago, that storm system that ripped across the United States, it's gone now, but it got picked up by the jet stream and it pulled itself all the way across the Atlantic at rapid speeds, man. Remember, I told you that flight that left New York today made it to Heathrow Airport in 5 hours and had a full tank of gas because the jet airliner was caught in the jet stream and it just moved it along as fast. It broke a world's record. But what's happening right now is with that extreme weather, the folks over in Ireland and the UK tonight and tomorrow will be under siege of very, very high winds, massive amounts of heavy downpours. The weather is going to turn from so-so to really, really bad. And I don't know exactly if that storm front's going to break up or if it's going to proceed into parts of Eastern Europe and turn into massive downpours of snow, like in feet of snow. But you could see right over here, that is a huge trough that is being caused by the jet stream right over here. And that trough has sunk down so low, it is now going to push all of that straight across the United States. Straight up, where you could see where it's going. And eventually it will make its way up into my neighborhood. We had that little bit of snow. Temperatures went up to 37, 41, 45. Then we had some rain. We're expecting some kooky weather overnight between snow turning to rain and sleet. So definitely dangerous situations to be traveling in. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. We're going to look at another view. This is the west side of the GOES. You could just take a look at what's happening out in the Pacific Ocean right now, and it is just absolutely insane. I would not want to be on a ship of any size in the Pacific Ocean right now, from one side of the Pacific to the other. There's not very many things that I'm afraid of or scared of, but I would definitely not want to be in any large ship. No way. These are very, 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 very dangerous storms that are setting up. You could see this one over here to the left. You could see this one over here to the right. And you see this right here. This is pulling warm air and water from way down here in the South Pacific. And where is it pulling it up to? It's pulling it up to right between Alaska and the northern tiers of Canada. I mean, the weather up here right now along this coastal area must be absolutely insane. Look at that. I would not want to be in between this. Could you imagine being on a ship? I don't care if it was a massive cargo ship. I don't care what kind of ship it was. Could you imagine being in between that right now? Let's see what that looks like on the infrared. That looks like a hurricane right there. That small area right here, that looks like a damn hurricane. And you can see how the weather's setting up in the United States just by watching this flow right here, right over Mexico. It's picking up the warm airs from the South Pacific. It's bringing in the moisture directly over Mexico. The temperatures there in the mid to high 70s. And bingo, that's it. That creates this monstrosity. And then you can see how it pushes, the jet stream pushes it in that nice diagonal format right across and up into the northeast. But that's also one of the reasons why we've been having some moderate weather where I live, and what you're seeing play out in some of these southern states, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri. They had some tornadoes in the winter that were very destructive. And that usually happens when you have systems like this. But we don't normally see systems like this in the winter. We see them in the late spring and the summer. And going into this spring and summer in this quadrant of the United States, it is going to be a literal hell with tornadoes. Trust me. We'll be talking about it in a few months. Now we're going to take a look at the other side of the world real quick. And we're going to see some of the extreme weather that is circumventing Australia and New Zealand. Now, right now, New Zealand's barely missing getting destroyed. And I mean it, man. I mean it. They're not going to be able to dodge these bullets too much more. It's eventually going to happen, and it's going to be nasty. These are the storm fronts that they're dealing with right now. You can see their circulation here. You can see their circulation here. There's a lot going on, and it is dumping massive amounts of rain. You can see right down here, south of Australia, right here. These are massive convections of air and current, man. These are just horrendous. We could take a look at it on the infrared. Give us a better idea what it looks like. Oops, wrong one. Now, a lot of this that you're seeing here, and this turbulence here, a lot of the really nasty weather that hit Australia occurred about 24 hours ago. And once those storms made their way inland, they kind of broke up a little bit, similar to our hurricanes here in the United States. Once they hit land, they tend to break up, but they've already done their damage. And if you just take a look at this monster, that looks like, if you pan back, it seems to be somewhat stalled. Depending on how the jet stream reacts over the next 48 hours, this storm may make its way up into this region of Australia and possibly Papua New Guinea, or it could possibly be completely sheared apart. The weather is so erratic that it's very, very hard to very hard to tell. But for the folks down under, it's a good thing that, the rain has come. It has diminished all the fires that ravaged this country. But now they're going to be dealing with, very, very, very severe weather that's going to last for months and months and months and months. And I think at this point in time, after the fires and after devastating flooding, which will continue, Australia, it's never going to be the same. It's very sad, beautiful country, beautiful people, beautiful surroundings, and it's just being taken apart piece by piece, man. It is a shame. We're going to check out the null school, the jet stream, and I'm going to end this live stream after that. But I just wanted to show you guys, how that jet stream is affecting everything. We'll go ahead and just start over here with Australia, and we'll take a look at the jet stream, and you can see how really erratic. We'll just take a look at the Antarctic, and here's the Antarctic right here, and you could see how crazy erratic this jet stream is. It is just insane. It's all broken into pieces. There are huge vortexes all over the place. And whenever you look at the jet stream, you can see right here where you can predict the weather. You can predict what will happen in these areas of Australia. When you look right here, you see that vortex right there? That's where one of the areas of the extreme rain occurred. Just look at that. That's crazy. Check out the northern hemisphere. It's even completely more nuts than the southern hemisphere. Let's take a look at it from the top. Doesn't make any sense to you, does it, huh? Just looks like a big collage of colors and a bunch of crazy lines moving. But I could reassure you that all of what you're seeing here is in no way, shape, or form normal in any sense of the word. Here is the system that I was trying to warn the folks over there in Ireland and the UK, and this will punch into France and Spain, and definitely move across Europe. There's no doubt about it. I'm just going to stop the actual motion real quick so you guys can see it. But this was the storm that made its way across the United States a week ago. And when it made its way out into the Atlantic Ocean, whoo, man, it picked up speed, it picked up intensity, and it is now slamming directly. Oh, excuse me. How vulgar. It's slamming directly into Ireland and the UK. You could see it, France. It's just going to tip off here in northern Spain. We may see, we may see extreme wave heights along the seashore in France and northern Spain. And once it gets into this quadrant right here, between the south of Spain the south of France and the north of Spain, when that water gets pushed up in here, it creates massive, massive waves. And the speed, let's see if we could catch the speed. Damn it. Holy hell. Wow. The jet stream speed, now this is not surface speed. The jet stream is much, 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 tens of thousands of feet higher. But you could see that jet stream speed, 220 miles per hour. That's how that jet airliner made its way across the Atlantic on a quarter tank of gas, basically. And in 5 hours, from New York to Heathrow, in 5 hours. Gets up there in the jet stream at about 35,000 feet, and it just sails away, baby. So that's that's a pretty high speed for the jet stream. Usually about 175, 185, 200. It's definitely elevated, but we could also take a look at the surface air speeds. 50 miles an hour. So you're looking at surface wind speeds already off the shores of the UK, 40 miles an hour, off the shores of Ireland, 48 miles an hour, 38 miles an hour. So this intensity is actually going to grow over the next 12 hours. They're going to get hit pretty hard over in the UK and Ireland. There's no doubt about it. I don't know about the rainfall. We could check. I'm going to check these temperatures, actually. And you could see the temperatures, and this timeline is like right now. So we could check out temperatures in Ireland, 37 degrees. UK, 38 degrees. France, 46, or Spain, 46 degrees. Coast of France, 47 degrees. So very, very moderate temperatures for them this time of year. But that's all going to change. They're going to get hit with this storm. And then, as you see the spread of the polar cap moving down into the United States, when you flip back over to the jet stream, you're going to see this is madness right here. So eventually, what we're looking at here in this jet stream, this is probably going to pull right in behind what's about to hit the shores of the UK and Ireland now. Probably in about 3 to 5 days, they'll be looking at another monstrosity, and it all depends on the that polar drift. To see how much of that cold air pushes downward. We could actually, motivate a few days to the 13th. And it seems that they'll stay pretty moderate. Temperatures anywhere from 42 to 35. Same thing with Ireland, 41 degrees. So they're like having springtime, early springtime temperatures, but they're also going to probably receive heavy downpours of rain. You can see here in the United States that polar drift, it's making its way down. And that's why I was saying that my weather here in Pittsburgh, we've had a very, very moderate. But now you can see things are changing. And we may have a late winter. I mean, we may get pounded in mid-February, late February, and March. We may get pounded here in my neck of the woods with heavy snowstorms. But in November and December and January, those 3 months, that 90 days, the temperatures in my area were 25 degrees above normal. So, climate chaos, yes. Global warming, there's a lot of extremes going on, folks. It's really hard to put your finger on what's going to happen from day to day, But I think the more knowledge that all of us gain, I think the better off we'll be. I do hear from a lot of people every single day that are scared, they are afraid. Some of them have been through extremes over the last 2 years, whether it be from fear of earthquakes, people out in California, people that have been devastated by floods, people that have been devastated by massive tornadoes, people that have been devastated by the massive hurricanes, people devastated by typhoons, cyclones, the flooding, the whole 9 yards, extreme heat. What can I say? I don't really think that there's a real safe place where you can say that you don't have to deal with any of this. That is a complete illusion. But knowing your surroundings, where you live, keeping a very, very good eye on good information. I know a lot of you follow different YouTube channels and people that kind of specialize on other things, like, specialize on weather and earthquakes and things of that nature. And that's good, because I think keeping yourself educated on your specific surroundings and also what is happening on this planet, what's happening on this earth, is the safest thing to do. We can't all live in fear. You can minimize that fear by the power of knowledge. Remember my saying, man, knowledge is power. No doubt about it. But anyways, folks, I'm going to break out of here. I got a lot of political news that I have to get caught up on. And I was happy to bring you the newest photo captures. I think it's amazing evidence. There are very strange and extreme things that are happening on this planet. And in one way, it is truly an amazing time to be alive. But in the same aspect, I guess you could say it is a scary time to be on this planet. But we're human beings. We've been around for a long, long time. We're pretty tough. And I think we can deal with it. But we have to keep plugging away. We have to continue to get smarter and continue to gain that knowledge. And we have to continue to spread that knowledge, spread that information globally by, like I say, by sharing this information as much as possible. Regardless of what your friends and your other Facebook friends say, whether they think you're a kook or not, one day, they're going to come around. And they're going to be like all of us. They're going to be part of the big awakening. And you'll be so far ahead. And that's where I'd rather be. I would rather be awake now than in the near future. Anyways, folks, I'm out of here. A lot of great information on my Facebook pages and the websites. Check it all out. Share all the information. Be very, very safe out there. Watch your weather very, very carefully, and you'll hear from me soon. Take care, folks. Planet X News, out.